God's truth is enduringly true throughout all the generations. It transcends culture. The church is always going to be an embattled people. If it's swimming with the tide, it's not being the Church of Jesus Christ. Look to the past, learn from the past, because the whole world lies in the power of the evil one.
China has more than 200 confirmed cases of coronavirus, it's called.
The entire state of California ordered to stay at home. That's 40.
California has some of the strictest policies leveled against churches. Gavin Newsom's executive order threatens jail time and a $1,000 a day fine.
Government stopping people from going to church, Dr. Fauci.
When I went into the White House, when I sat in on the task force meetings, was a shocking level of gross incompetence.
Mortality rate from the virus was 0.2%, 99.8% survival, rather than the 3 or 4% mortality that the people were saying at the time.
The culture and the understanding of the people of Grace Church has always been, not only do you obey government, but you honor God.
Thousands of people in the streets, but you can't have church.
The hypocrisy of letting people riot helped us all understand one thing. This is not what they say it is.
By meeting, we're testifying the government has no jurisdiction here. I was arrested and driven to a maximum security prison.
The government has obviously turned up the heat on churches.
My daddy.
When the churches fall silent, the only religion left is the state.
We needed to make a biblical statement because we always put ourselves under the authority of the Word of God.
LA County threatened Pastor John Macarthur with jail time and arrest.
We were going to be sued. They wanted Grace Church shut down.
We wanted to go on the offensive and attack the health order as unconstitutional. This wasn't about health and safety. This was all about control and opposition to religious freedom.
As the government gets more corrupt and more corrupt,
Snitches get rewards.
its totalitarian control has to increase.
You have to have a mask on.
And as they shut down any attacks against them,
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
the last thing standing is going to be the church.
All right. Now, where am I? Here I am. All right. So let's see who we got here. 10 comments so far. Wow. We got a crowd, maybe. So who's here? Carrie, good morning. AC, good morning. Lucas, as always. Okay, anybody else? Okay, you guys have these people are psycho. I hope you're talking about those on the video, not the people here. It sounds like you guys got going on your comments pretty good. So that was obviously a promo for a film that Grace Church did called The Essential Church, and it goes back and documents obviously what happened during these times that we had, that horrible, awful time when freedom itself was under assault, and specifically religious freedom. And okay. Just thought I'd clarify. Yeah, the people in the video are psycho, yes. And it really was, in a lot of ways, a mass psychosis, mass hysteria. And one of the sane voices in that was Pastor John Macarthur, who passed away, I think, a couple days ago. He had been battling health problems. If you don't know him, he was a pastor of Grace Community Church up in, I think, La Mirada, up in Big Bad LA, somewhere in LA. And I never went to his church, but I always followed his teachings from time to time, especially on the internet, and especially during that time. And a lot of people are commemorating him, remembering him and a lot of videos out there, and talking about his the way he led his church, and what a good Bible teacher he was. He would just go through the Bible. That's what he did. He preached through the Bible, and that's it. No special sermon series, topical series. He just preached the word over and over again. I think he started in the late 60s, early 70s at Grace and stayed there until his death, preaching the word. And I wanted to specifically focus on a lot. None of the retrospectives or the remembering I've seen have focused on the lockdowns for that bug thing. I don't know. Not sure you can. Still not sure what you can say and can't say about that event. So, oh, AC Lucas might be too. Okay. Psychos. I don't think so. You listen to me. It can't be that bad. Or maybe I'm psycho. Maybe that's why you guys listen to me. I don't know. But nobody is really focusing on this. And I think this was the seminal event in his life, as much as he had an impact on the LA area and his congregation. He started something called the Master's College, which was kind of like a seminary, training pastors. So he had a lot of effect on other pastors, other ministries. His influence was very wide. But I'll leave that to them but I haven't seen, and maybe I just haven't seen them, but I haven't seen anyone really focus on what he did during the lockdowns and what was attempted to be done to him, and against his church. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because for me personally, during that time, he was one of the few beacons of hope I saw in society at all, but specifically in Christian circles. Because I've told you guys several times that I was part of a big church in this area, very influential church, at the time, second biggest church in California. And when this happened, they decided that they were going to close down and they were going to be the last church to reopen. They were going to show their love for the community by closing down. And I mean, closing down. This church had more resources in this area than anyone they could have had. They could have done any number of things to keep assembling and to keep meeting together. But they didn't. They took the tack of, we are going to close the church down. And it led to a pretty nasty church split and a lot of contention that's still going on today. It really is. So that was extremely disappointing, to say the least. So as my wife and I were looking around for churches that were open, and we found a couple, some were meeting in hot parking lots in August, but they were meeting together. And then we finally found a church that was meeting indoors without masks. And we went to that one for a while, and they were fogging the seats and had cones on the seats next to you that you had to stay a certain length apart, but they were meeting. They were doing what they could. And everybody was trying to figure it out. So when I saw what this video and this movie documents, it was very much an encouragement to me, and it was an encouragement to people who wanted to stay obedient to the commands. And the most obvious command that we had was in Hebrews 10. I'm going to add it to the stage here. Jesus, the writer of Hebrews, whoever it was, I'm going to bring it up here. Should be coming up. It should be coming up. And there it is. So I'll have to come back. I have to do something about my internet. It's just a little too slow. But the verse is Hebrews 10:25. And we usually just say this one. Not giving up meeting together, as some in the habit are doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. So that's usually the verse that was used the most to argue for continuing to meet. But in the context, I'm noticing this morning, this was in the context of the writer of Hebrews talking about how all the way from the beginning of chapter 10, how the law is only a shadow of the good things that are coming, not the realities themselves, and the sacrifices, how God doesn't desire sacrifices. And if these sacrifices that were being made all through the Old Testament, if they were enough, then they would have ceased. Talks about how day after day priests would stand and perform his religious duties again and again, making the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. They can only temporarily atone for sins. So what happened? Jesus made the ultimate sacrifice. Okay. And therefore, my brothers, we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way opened for us through the curtain. Thanks. That is his body. Okay. So that curtain into the Holy Holies represented Jesus's body. And when that was torn and Jesus's body was torn and the blood was spilled, that gave us access to the most holy. And that's what we're talking about. And he goes, let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. Okay. And let us consider, okay, I got some weird thing blocking it here. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day coming. So that is really the context of not forsaking assembling together. When we assemble together and encourage one another, we are coming, we have access. And God wants us to have that access together. For all that Jesus did, we have a hope that no one has. Okay, all those sacrifices in the Old Testament, they didn't work. God put them there to show it won't work. This is not going to be enough. My sacrifice is the only thing that's going to be enough. And that gives us hope if we've put our faith in that, if we've accepted that sacrifice, if we've put our faith in Jesus. His blood has been the sacrifice we need. And that is expressed and that is celebrated together as Christians. And it gives us hope. And the thing about that time when everybody shut down and everybody did it out of fear. Okay. Everybody was afraid. It was an ultimate expression of a focus on the temporal, the focus on this life, only putting hope in this life. So when churches shut down, they said, we don't have any hope beyond this life. They may not have wanted to say that. Like my church wanted to show the community how much it loved each other, how much it loved the community. And therefore, somehow that would preach some kind of message, even though they weren't meeting together. The church we did find that was meeting inside, they said the exact opposite. They said, we're going to show the community how much we love it by being open, because we're the church and this is a horrible time and people need the church. We can't not be open. One church said we can't be open. The other church says we can't not be open. We're the church. We have this hope. We need to give people this hope that we have. So, and the guy that was spearheading that was John Macarthur. And I remember my church one of the pastors, with several pastors, actually three main ones at the time, was very resentful, and the church was very resentful of what Macarthur and Grace Church were doing. They and a lot of churches were communicating to my church, because my church was a very big influential church, that what my church was doing made it easier for them to close down. And what John MacArthur was doing was making it harder for these churches to close down. And when I heard that, I thought, well, good for John MacArthur. Because if you want to shut your church down and forsake meeting together, abandoning the hope that you have, that Jesus made his sacrifice for, to provide us access together as a people. If you want to end that, you think that should be easy. I think he should. I wish John MacArthur would have made it impossible for other churches to do that. And that's really a lot of the issue we have. In the church today, we have that issue now. This 5 years on from all this, 4 or 5 years on, that really can be looked back upon and seen as a bellwether event, a changing event, one way or another. Now, I know that church that we had that I'm talking about, in a lot of ways, has realized its error, and to their credit, they have admitted that they made some big mistakes. And there was a lot of, we talk about church hurt. I'm not a counselor, but I've done a lot of counseling for people from that particular church who are still dealing with the church hurt like I've never seen before. But to their credit, they have admitted it and at least acknowledged the mistakes that were made. So, but a lot of churches haven't. A lot of churches haven't recovered from that. I know there are several churches in this area that had to close down. Their people never came back. People didn't want to come back to church. In my current church now that didn't shut down, there are still people that have not come back. There are people that stayed home, even though this particular church stayed open. There are people that stayed home and never came back. Pastor talks about it all the time. He's called them and from the pulpit and also personally said, "Hey, please come back." And they're like, "No." And this is where actually this kind of thing that we're doing hurts. The internet, as amazing as it is for communicating, and I've talked about this before, and I know some of you kind of rely on that, and I think I've gently kind of encouraged you to not rely on online church, because there is that meeting together. When you meet together with other people in person, you have to deal with that person, and you also you get to deal with that person. You have to deal with people you don't like. On the other hand, you get to deal with people you don't like or that you struggle with, but you also have to get to deal with people that will spur you on to love and good works, like it says in Hebrews. That's part of it. So Jesus did not make that sacrifice and provide us all access. And he did not tell us that we as a body represent his body. To have that be somehow withheld or somehow pulled back or somehow done remotely. Jesus made the sacrifice. He was the curtain. That curtain has been torn open. We have access to God. He wants to do it as a corporate body representing his body. And that's just hard to do online. So let's see. So what we got? Okay. So Lucas, you were talking about, there you go. My pastor, Uncle Fred, is your uncle? Oh, okay. Had to shut down his church because of his health. He's like 65 with diabetes. Is that because of all the lockdowns? That'd be interesting to know. Okay. Carrie, the church I watch on Sundays, Legacy, didn't close either. It was tough to do in New Mexico, but they did it. Good for them. So, and it was tough. And those other pastors, they tried to arrest John MacArthur. The problem they had was the LA Sheriff's Department that had jurisdiction up there was attending his church. They came in uniform and sat in his church. So the videos that you saw of the pastors being arrested were up in Canada, I think. And Canada has just decided to go all in on the totalitarian impulse, I guess. And this is what a big part of that. And John MacArthur was right there. This was an opportunity for totalitarianism. And that little clip of Biden saying, this is not about freedom. This is not about freedom of choice. This is about our control, really. I mean, he would have said this is about public safety, but it wasn't. And it was so disappointing. Honestly, it's probably the worst thing I've seen in my life. Not because of it was a 9/11 type tragedy or something like that. Because of what it showed us that we weren't the people we thought we were. Okay. The most disappointing thing about that whole event was how many people were willing not only to give up their own rights as Americans, but were also eager to take away the rights of other people. And it was also about not only Christians who wanted to shut their own church down, but churches who wanted to pressure other churches to shut down themselves and shame those that weren't. In my church, those of us that didn't want to forsake assembling, that still wanted to assemble, we were called unloving. We were called racist in a lot of ways, because remember what else happened at that time, right? And also there was supposedly a racial component to the virus that didn't happen. So so we're saying we were heartless people who wanted to kill old people, all this silliness that people got caught up in. But it really hurt a lot of people, and people are still hurting from this. So many things. My daughter got married on Saturday. Okay. At this venue in the town next to us here. And this is an old farmhouse, ranch house. Southern California is, everywhere you go in Southern California, it's rancho something, right? Because of all these ranchos, Spanish style ranch houses and ranches that Southern California has eventually developed over. And they were talking about how this, it's called the Adobe, how they used to have Adobe days there. And when they would have people come and they would do old farm type activities, old ranch type activities. And it was a big event for the cities. And then they said, but COVID killed it. COVID killed that. 5 years later, COVID killed that. So we're still seeing the effects of it. So, again, it was a sad time for me. And in a lot of ways, I still haven't recovered from it. So I lost my business because of it. But, there is grace, and there were people that didn't bow the knee. And the leader of that was John MacArthur. And now, I think he's going to have a lot of rewards when he gets to heaven, because he, probably more than any other pastor, his model of just preaching the word, just going through the Bible over and over and over again. At one point, I think I saw a video where he counted the number of times he had gone through the Bible since like 1969 or something. And because his philosophy was let the word speak for itself. and he didn't let himself get in the way. Okay, and he didn't buy into a lot of the modern philosophies. If you look at his church service, it's retro 1979 or 1969, whenever he started. He has a big, beautiful facility that was built because he had thousands of people come to his church, but he never put a stage on. He never put video screens. He never turned the worship in the service into all music, which is one of my soapboxes that we've done today. We've got this idea that worship, the totalitarian worship, is our music, and it has to be contemporary, and it has to be rock and roll, and it has to have lighting and sometimes fog and all this kind of thing. And he didn't buy into that. He kept things more, I want to say dignified, but he didn't have any tolerance for the foolishness and the real kind of thing you see from evangelical pastors today, where they all try and be hip and cool, and the seeker-friendly model of saying, hey, if we can just be hip and cool and relatable, people will come. It's an attractional type thing. And John MacArthur was, nope, just preach the word. We're not going to put on a show. We're going to let the word speak for itself. And when tough times came, a lot of those hip, cool pastors, like the church I attended, folded. And they forsook assembling together because they had let themselves slide into a bunch of silly, seeker-friendly nonsense. And they came up with the idea that they could be most relatable to their community. They could be most accepted by their community if they shut their church down. And John MacArthur didn't do that because he hadn't fallen into that trap. He kept his church open. People came because he was a light in a very dark time. And Grace Community Church prospered at that time, when a lot of these other churches are still feeling the effects today of what they chose to do. They chose to forsake assembling. So that's my tribute to John MacArthur. And I just want to add that to all the really great things that are being said about him. Yes, Lucas. Yes, I'm so slow. I'm sorry about this, folks. I will try and get my internet straightened out. This has gone on long enough. The big question is, are we here for a rock concert, or are we here to worship Jesus? Yes, that is the question. Carrie, church should be Bible study. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of these churches do study the Bible, but I went to Delirious once, and instead of entering true worship, I was watching the show with one eye. I don't know what Delirious is, but it looks good on this end, Joel. Oh, it does. Okay. Well, I'm glad it does. My end is very choppy. So thanks for that input. To me, I'm very choppy, and these things are coming up very slowly. So that's why I'm hesitating. So, but I'll go back and watch it. I usually won't go back and watch this and see how bad it was or good it was. So thanks for listening. Again, rest in peace, John MacArthur. You're entering your reward. I'm certain of it. And, it's a little late to say thank you, but when I see you in heaven, hopefully I will. And I will thank you then and say, I'll chip in to my well done, good and faithful servant. But he will long ago have heard that from the Lord when he enters his rest. So thanks for listening. I think I'm on with Ben tomorrow. I think that's on. We haven't done that for a while. So I will see you then. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.